are afraid of. I mean, it's that simple. And so they're trying to stop it at all costs. And I want to talk about another topic tonight, just because, right? So for those of you who are not aware, right? I was part of organizing a very, very, very important demonstration that happened in Times Square last Sunday, not yesterday, but a week ago, right? And it was a very, very important demonstration to support Dr. Hak Ja Han. Now, who is Dr. Hak Ja Han? Dr. Hak Ja Han is the Mother of Peace, Holy Mother Han, Hak Ja Han, sometimes called Hak Ja Han Moon. She is the leader of the Unification Movement, right? The Unification Church, the Family Federation for World Peace and Unification. She's the leader of a religious group that started in South Korea during the 1950s, was very, very anti-communist. She was born in North Korea along with her late husband. They both fled North Korea, very anti-communist. But after the fall of the Soviet Union, she and her late husband, they decided that they needed to go to North Korea. And in fact, her late husband, the Reverend Sun Myung Moon, he said that there will not be military reunification of North and South Korea. Fascinating. Even though he was tortured by Kim Il-sung, he was turned in, he was arrested in North Korea. The other Christians didn't like him. It's an interesting story. Reverend Moon was in North Korea. He's from there, and he was running his church. And there were Christians at the time that were part of the government in North Korea. They were pretty friendly to Christians in the early 50s before the Korean War. It was like, there was kind of a crackdown on Christians in the 60s, but in the late 40s, they had like Presbyterian ministers that were on the national committee and stuff like that. And during these years, he was operating in North Korea, and other Christians didn't like him. Right? And it was other Christians who lied to the North Korean officials and had Reverend Moon arrested and imprisoned. It was actually other Christians. That's an interesting detail. I did not know that, but it was other Christians who didn't like him. They lied to the North Korean government, made it sound like he was their enemy. So he was arrested. He was taken to jail. He was tortured, a whole horrible thing. He ended up escaping during the Korean War, going back to South Korea. Very anti-communist because he experienced some pretty horrendous conditions in the prison camp he was held in. Was tortured, pretty awful. So he was a strong, strong anti-communist all throughout the Cold War. But then in the 1990s, after the fall of the Soviet Union, he said, Korea will not be unified militarily. The only way North and South Korea are going to reunify is with reconciliation and forgiveness. It's very interesting, very, very interesting ideas, right? So, their theology, the unification theology, teaches that that Cain and Abel, right? If you go to the Old Testament of the Bible, Adam and Eve, they had two children, Cain and Abel. And the story goes that, that Abel presented his offering to God, and God was very pleased with his offering. And Cain presented his offering to God, and God rejected it. And Cain felt very humiliated, very ashamed that his offering was rejected. And Abel was very boastful and prideful and thought he was better because God accepted his offering. So Cain, you know what? He got angry and he killed Abel, right? And then the story goes, God came to Cain and said, Cain, where is Abel? And he lied to God, and Cain said, am I my brother's keeper? Am I my brother's keeper? This sarcastic thing, like, why are you asking me? And that's a quote that people use often, right? Is that Cain was saying, why should I care what my brother's doing? It's not my job to look after my brother, when everybody knows he killed his brother. And that was the beginning of discord and war in the world, when Cain killed Abel, right? And and this is interesting. They have a unique interpretation of the story of Cain and Abel, which is the unification movement argues that there was fault on both sides. Obviously, we look at this and we say Cain is the bad one, right? He murdered his brother. But Abel kind of provoked it, right? Abel, instead of helping his brother Cain get stuff in order to be accepted by God, Cain, his offering was rejected, and Abel looked down upon his brother and was boastful and was arrogant, and his brother was hurt and was full of shame. and he didn't sympathize with his brother. He gloated over his brother. He appreciated it. So in jealousy, Cain killed his brother Abel. Now, obviously, Cain should not have done that, but Abel shouldn't have done that either. Abel and Cain should have worked together, right? That is the unification interpretation of the story. That's how Dr. Hak Ja Han and Reverend Moon interpret the story of Cain and Abel, right? And they argue that that was the beginning of conflict in the world. And they argue the world is divided between Cain and Abel nations. And their feeling is that North Korea is Cain, South Korea is Abel, and that Cain and Abel should reconcile, and that North Korea and South Korea should reconcile, and that there's blame on both sides. That South Korea, they tend to take the South Korean side. They tend to be very anti-communist, but there is blame on both sides, and that Cain and Abel should reconcile. And so that's why after the fall of the Soviet Union, Reverend Moon said, nope. There's not going to be military. There's not going to be a military reunification of Korea. It's going to come by Cain and Abel forgiving each other. That's what he said. And so as a result of that, Reverend Moon got on a plane and he went to North Korea and he hugged Kim Il-sung and said, you tortured me, you imprisoned me, but I forgive you. And ever since then, the unification movement have been huge supporters of North Korea. Now, they don't agree with North Korea's ideology, but they have invested millions and millions of dollars into the North Korean economy. They built the North Korean state-run car manufacturer. The Tongil Group has invested millions of dollars, built a park, built a big apartment building, built a church. They have invested millions of dollars in North Korea. And that's a really big deal because North Korea, after the time of the fall of the Soviet Union, was completely isolated, right? They couldn't import oil. They couldn't even get food into the country. But yet, because the unification movement was well-connected in Washington, D.C., well-connected in South Korea, they got a special exemption and they were able to bring millions of dollars into North Korea. And they are the primary advocates of peace with North Korea. They send delegations there. They have been the main advocates of peace with North Korea. And when Donald Trump visited North Korea in his first term, that was because of them, because they run the Washington Times, which is their newspaper, and their newspaper is one of the main conservative newspapers in Washington, D.C., and they convened academics and think tanks, and they basically put pressure on the Trump administration, made the case for it. Donald Trump would not have visited North Korea if it wasn't for Dr. Hak Ja Han. Okay, that's just a fact, right? And you can choose not to believe me if you want. You can choose to say that's a bunch of malarkey, Caleb. Well, it's true. This woman, who right now is sitting in a jail cell in South Korea, is the woman who made Donald Trump visit North Korea. It is because of Dr. Hak Ja Han that an American president met with Kim Jong-un once, met with Kim Jong-un twice, and then actually went to the 38th parallel, the DMZ, and walked into North Korea and met Kim Jong-un. If it wasn't for this 82-year-old woman who was born in North Korea, has every reason in the world to hate Kim Jong-un, to hate North Korea, to want to take revenge on them and kill them, if it wasn't for this woman, who she and her husband forgave North Korea and said, in the name of our religion, in the name of bringing Cain and Abel together, we are going to invest millions of dollars of our own money into North Korea. We're going to spend our own money to help North Korea have cars, to build parks in North Korea. If it wasn't for them doing this, Donald Trump would never have been to visited North Korea. That is a huge accomplishment. It's a huge, huge thing. It is a tremendous, tremendous achievement. It is a tremendous achievement, and you cannot downplay that. And that people don't seem to understand how important this is, right? That the fact that this happened, I'll put the image on the screen. The fact that this moment in human history happened, where the leader of America and the leader of North Korea, two countries that are technically at war with each other, right? We have no diplomatic relations. There's no embassy here. There's never been a peace treaty. There's been an armistice with North Korea. The fact that these two world leaders, the head of state of the United States and the head of state of the Korean, Democratic People's Republic, could meet and shake hands, that an American sitting president could go to North Korea, that would never have happened if it wasn't for this woman. And that's why I have said this woman should not be in jail. And this woman, who has made such a tremendous contribution to world peace, and who is the best friend that North Korea has, she should not be in jail. And I think that's a respectable position. And right now she's sitting in jail, and she's going to go to trial on December 1st. And she will be going to trial December 1st on charges of bribery. Now, I've heard a lot of different things, and I know the White House has a relationship with her, obviously. And, she is sitting in a jail cell right now, charged with bribery, because somebody who used to work for her allegedly gave a handbag to the first lady of the previous president of South Korea. And so this 82-year-old woman who just had heart surgery, is sitting in a jail cell right now. They let her out for 3 days to go to the hospital. Now she's back in the jail cell. December 1st, she will go to trial. And Newt Gingrich is already in South Korea raising a ruckus. He's a Republican, a conservative. Ministers from all over the world are raising a ruckus. So in New York City, on Sunday, Center for Political Innovation, we were happy to join with the American Christian Leadership Conference, the Association of Christian Evangelists, and other organizations. We marched in Times Square to support this woman. And if you can't understand why we would do this, as people that are anti-imperialists, as somebody who's got the complete works, or not the complete works, but a lot of Kim Il-sung books on my shelf, as somebody who has met with the North Koreans in Ecuador and at World Youth Festivals, as somebody who's been marching in support of North Korea for a long time, as somebody who considers himself in line with anti-imperialism and the tradition of anti-imperialism that North Korea stands for, I think you can understand why we joined this demonstration. I think it should really make perfect sense. Maybe it doesn't make sense to you, but if it doesn't make sense to you, you really don't know who I am, right? I think it makes perfect sense why I was supporting this gathering in Times Square. And here's the video, right? And here's the video. I'll just show you the video of the rally, and then I want to talk to you about something else. So here we go.
Are standing up against religious persecution. Our Holy Mother Han is persecuted so much.
So we're here at the church, just kind of getting everybody ready. We got a sign here. She is innocent, with Hak Ja Han moon on it. Ready to go do something, huh?
That's right.
That's right.
Release the Mother of Peace. Release the Mother of Peace. Release the Mother of Peace.
Since the age of 16, when he started to work for peace, when so many people at the age of 20 don't even know what to do in life.
So we are here in Times Square to support the Holy Mother Han. Holy Mother Han is the founder of the Women's Federation for World Peace International that has an NGO in the United Nations. And she's also the great leader of Family Federation for World Peace and Unification.
God, we love you, Mother. We love you, Mother. We love you, Mother. We love you, Mother.
But they're bringing up these same ideas, these same charges. They're thinking it's ridiculous. It's completely ridiculous. It's all trumped up. What we're asking for is to let our true mother out of jail until and unless she's found guilty in a court of law, which will never happen because she didn't do anything wrong.
She traveled the world. She went to Africa, where I am from. She went to the very corners of Africa to pray for Africans.
And she's been persecuted in Korea because of her religious affiliation. And we're here to support her because she's innocent and we want her to be released.
Hallelujah. 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 We are with you, Holy Mother. We are with you, Holy Mother. We are with you, Holy Mother. We are with you, Holy Mother.
I hope we can overcome this kind of situation because of Holy Mother Han always be with us, and Heavenly Parents also work together, and watch us.
Koreans need to really demonstrate that heart of filial piety. And it has always been in the South Korean culture, the culture of filial piety, the culture of Hyojong, the respect of the elders for generations, for millennia. South Korea has been known as that. And today, what is happening is really different.
We're out here because we support this global campaign. We know how important Dr. Hak Ja Han has been in the effort to bring reconciliation between the United States and North Korea. And her family, her late husband, and herself, they have invested so much money into North Korea. They have visited North Korea and met with Kim Il-sung.
Release the Mother of Peace. Release the Mother of Peace. Release the Mother of Peace.
Thank you.
Release the Mother of Peace. Release the Mother of Peace. Release the
Really,
Mother of Peace.
She is the one who really brought the peace road to connect the entire world.
She traveled around the world in order to reach out to the corners of the world to promote peace and family.
We remember ancient Rome at the time of Jesus. Ancient Rome was mighty in power. Rome's army subdued many nations, and Rome was so powerful. But what did the Romans do? They persecuted Christianity, like what's happening in South Korea now. They're persecuting Holy Mother Han and our church, Unification Church, Family Federation. Rome's mighty army was so powerful, but what happened? Rome fell. Rome burned because Rome persecuted Christians. Ancient Rome persecuted Christians, and Rome fell. Rome burned. And what's happening in South Korea? They are persecuting our Holy Mother Han, whom our heavenly parents sent. After 6,000 years, they are persecuting her in South Korea.
The movement is being persecuted around the world, and this shouldn't be happening. We are in full support of the call to release the Mother of Peace. Dr. Hak Ja Han is an important ally of all who want peace in the world, and especially those who want peace on the Korean Peninsula and peace with the Democratic People's Republic of Korea.
Release the Mother of Peace. 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 Now! Release the Mother of Peace. Now!
Took the cross of the world, she took the cross of humanity to really want to bring a peace. That's why we call her the Mother of Peace. No woman ever on this earth had ever been able to do that. She is the one who really restored the position of Eve. Eve who even fell in the Garden of Eden.
Now! Release the Mother of Peace. Now!
Now! Release the Mother of Peace. Release the Mother of Peace. Release the Mother of Peace. Now! Release the Mother of Peace.
So I want to then talk about something else, which is kind of a bummer. But you know, it has to put this in context, right? So right now, the woman who made this happen is sitting in a jail cell. I mean, if that's not a bummer enough, I have to tell you right now, North Korea's friends in America have stabbed them in the back. Let me say that again. North Korea's friends in America have stabbed them in the back. For the longest time, who was the biggest friend of North Korea in America? The Communist Party. The Communist Party USA, led by Gus Hall. Gus Hall would go to North Korea all the time. Gus Hall, they, printed, writings about North Korea, Kim Il-sung's writings, whatever. However, in 2010, right, Gus Hall, the leader of the Communist Party, died in the year 2000. 10 years later, 2010, Obama was president. North Korea tested nuclear weapons. And at that point, the People's World, which is the daily newspaper of the Communist Party USA, it was People's Weekly World for a while, and then they just made it an online publication rather than a print publication. It was the People's World. They ran an op-ed, which is not on there anymore. It's been scrubbed. And the op-ed is called North Korea, and then in all capital letters, no way to act, denouncing North Korea for developing nuclear weapons. And at that point, the Communist Party of the United States terminated its relationship with North Korea. Dan Margolis, who was a leader of the Communist Party back then, I don't think he's in the Communist Party anymore. A guy named Dan Margolis, excuse me, he was the main liaison of the Communist Party USA to North Korea. Let me Google him. Dan Margolis. I think he's, if I can find a picture of him, this guy. Right, this guy, Dan Margolis, was the main representative of the Communist Party USA who would visit the North Korean mission to the United Nations. And he would visit them, and he was their main liaison. And he would show up, a couple times a year. The North Korean mission to the United Nations has a reception where they invite their different friends, and they would invite Dan Margolis. This guy, he was their guy, right? And after 2010, Dan Margolis wrote this article, North Korea, no way to act. And from then on, the Communist Party USA stopped supporting North Korea. And to this day, the Communist Party USA does not support North Korea. Think about that, right? North Korea is a communist country, and the Communist Party USA does not support them. And I used to be in the Workers' World Party. The Workers' World Party still supports North Korea. And there is a group of Korean Americans called Nodatal, and they support North Korea. But I got to point something out, which is, what president of the United States is that? All right, is that Joe Biden? Wait, that's Kamala Harris, right? No. That's Obama. No, that's Trump. What president improved relations with North Korea and took steps in that direction? That would be Donald Trump. And North Korea knew that Trump was going to improve relations before he even took office. In fact, when I asked Donald Trump a question at a press conference in 2016, the one time Trump and I have spoken, I was at a press conference in March of 2016 at the old post office in Washington, D.C., and I raised my hand, and he said, "Who's my favorite reporter?" You. He called on me. And I asked Donald Trump about Russia. He responded, and in his response, he started talking about how the USA shouldn't have troops in South Korea. And he said, "Half my TVs are made in South Korea. Why are we giving them support? It's none of our business." And North Korea, in official state media, actually said that they were excited about Trump. And in the last election, in the 2020 election, the 2024 election, they said the same thing. They said under Trump, there is a possibility of improving relations, right? That's what they said. And Donald Trump, despite whatever criticism, flaws, I was just on here talking about ICE, and there's plenty of bad things you can say about Trump. But under Trump, the North Koreans understand that there is hope for improving relations. This is somebody they're willing to meet with and talk to. So there's that. That's kind of important, isn't it? Now, both the Workers' World Party and the Nodatal organization have Trump derangement syndrome. In fact, Nodatal, They did not march in the streets to celebrate when Trump was elected and say, great, now we can have peace on the Korean Peninsula. They did the opposite. They joined with the Answer Coalition to have a hysterical Stop Trump rally. And the Workers' World Party did the same thing when Trump was first elected in 2016. Even though North Korea was saying, this is good, we might be able to talk to Trump, the Workers' World Party joined the hysterical Stop Trump rally when Trump took office in 2016, a rally that turned very violent, that, destroyed a lot of cars and was just absolutely horrible. All right. And even though North Korea says this guy is who we want in office, this guy's who we want to talk to, North Korea's friends in America that are communists have Trump derangement syndrome because they don't really support North Korea. They support the Democrats. Let me reemphasize that. They don't really support North Korea. They support the Democrats. And because of that, they're not really friends of North Korea. And, when the South Korean president came to the United States 3 years ago, CPI reached out to Notital, the Korean American organization that was planning a demonstration against Donald Trump, or not against Trump, but against the South Korean president. We said, can we come to your rally? Can we come to your rally? And they sent us a really nasty email. They didn't just say no. Let me put it that way. They repeated all kinds of really nasty personal gossip against me. And on top of that, they said they don't support Trump. Right. And that they were especially concerned that we would be supporting Trump. Well, Trump is who's meeting with Kim Jong Un in that picture. And that right there is proof that Notital is not really a friend of the Korean people. Notital is actually just a woke intelligence operation. And in fact, what Notital exists to do, they don't exist to actually help North Korea. Their goal is to get gay pride parades into North Korea. Their goal is to get woke politics into North Korea. Their goal is to interfere in North Korea, right? Yeah. And, so you look at this whole situation and you see that, North Korea's closest friend and ally is sitting in a jail cell. And you see that all the communist groups have betrayed North Korea. And even the couple communist groups that still support North Korea don't really support North Korea because they have Trump derangement syndrome, which anyone, if you support North Korea, you would not have Trump derangement syndrome. That right there should tell you why an organization like the Center for Political Innovation is so important. We are a very, very important organization. When Donald Trump came to Madison Square Garden to give his speech the last week of the 2024 election, we were out in front of it with a big banner of Trump and Kim shaking hands. This is us. So we're here on 34th Street, and the crowds have lined up. They're going in to see Trump speak. We've got our banner. We're handing out our palm cards, spreading the message.
Like a concert, but bigger. I see the lines of people going block after block after block after block, and it makes you wonder, is the media, the mainstream media, really telling you the truth about how unpopular Donald Trump actually is?
This administration is evil, and we need to bring America back and make America godly again. Make America great again.
Only peace can make America great again. Only peace can make America great again. This was a great, great moment when Trump talked to Kim Jong Un and started the process of peace on the Korean Peninsula. And we want to see peace not just with North Korea, but with Russia, with China, with many countries around the world. It is outrageous that billions of dollars is being spent on prolonging the war in Ukraine when our people can't get relief in North Carolina. People are left behind in Georgia and North Carolina. They can't get
relief they need. This is outrageous. Our government is more concerned with waging wars around the world than for caring for our own people. That we need a president who will put America first, a president who will bring peace around the world. Only peace can make America great again.
Yeah, and that even got us mentioned in New Yorker magazine, believe it or not. New Yorker magazine featured us, that we were there. And I was quoted in New Yorker magazine. Who are North Korea's real friends? Who are North Korea's real friends? You think about it. Is it Know-it-all that is having hysterical anti-Trump rallies and won't even let us go to their rallies, supposedly to support North Korea because, they are part of the character assassination operation against me, and because they don't like Trump? Who is North Korea's real friend? Who's North Korea's real friend? I mean, you have to ask that question, right? North Korea's real friend is sitting in a jail cell right now in South Korea. And I'm organizing rallies with other people, helping to try and raise awareness about why she needs to be released. And, I can't emphasize this enough. CPI is a really, really, really important organization, because if it wasn't for us, who would be doing this? We were all over the country in the 2024 election. We even went to Trump's inauguration with a big banner that said, "Only peace can make America great again." That was our contribution, right? Here's Briggy, right? This was our contribution. We had this at Trump Tower. We had this at the library, the New York Public Library. We had this in front of Madison Square Garden. We had this at Trump's inauguration. Who else would do this if not CPI? We are the only anti-imperialist left. We are the only ones, right? We're the only ones. If it hadn't been for Briggy and Phil and Irving and Noah, hadn't been for my good friend Michael, Red Illuminati, if it hadn't been for other people who helped us, people from Manhattan Family Church, this message wouldn't have been part of the election conversation in 2024. This message wouldn't have been at Trump's inauguration. It wouldn't have been in front of Madison Square Garden. Who is North Korea's real friends? People that are rioting against Trump when Trump is the one who North Korea says they like, or us? Think about it. And if you can understand why it's important that the Center for Political Innovation exists, I think you need to think about this and understand why the work we do is so important. We're not an online organization. There's a lot of podcasts you can listen to, a lot of streams you can watch and all of that. We are building an in real life organization. If all this ever becomes for you is a form of internet entertainment, eventually you're going to change the channel. And I mean, that's, you don't watch the same TV show. And if all this is to you is a TV show, you will change the channel. I don't want you to change the channel. I want you to do what Briggy's doing here, right? Briggy is a member of the group who's been part of the organization, and she's not going to change the channel because she has become part of this community. It's not a show she watches. It's real life. And that's what CPI is. This is not a show. This is real life. We urgently need an anti-imperialist movement in America right now. And we don't need a podcast, and we don't need a show. We need a real anti-imperialist movement. And there's a lot of people right now that are lost, that this society, this country has left behind. They're confused. They don't know what to believe in. They urgently need a movement. And around the world, there's many people suffering under the boot heels of U.S. imperialism who urgently need a movement. And there are people like the Uhuru movement who are being oppressed by the American government and attacked by the feds. And there are people around the world. And what we are doing as CPI is really, really, really important. And no one else is doing it. And I don't care if somebody else is cool on the internet, and I don't care if you're mad about this or that, or you think I'm a nerd or whatever you think about me. We're doing it, and nobody else is. Nobody else is. There's other people that are doing important stuff, right? The Uhuru movement does important work in the Black community. Jose is running a great campaign for office right now. Good for him. But we are doing stuff like this, and nobody else is. And it's really, 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 really important that we do stuff like this. So I would like you to join the Center for Political Innovation and get involved. I would like you to, support us if you can, financially or however you can. I'd like you to become a member. We have got an important job to do, and we're doing it. And I would like you to be part of it. And I am trying to recruit you. right now. I would like to recruit you to this movement because this movement is urgently needed. This movement is absolutely urgently needed, and there's nobody else doing what we're doing.